Hello, welcome back again to my channel. We are talking about Lockdown Browser, which is one of the most famous or commonly used proctoring services, especially during this pandemic. The instructors really need these kind of tools to make sure that the learning is going on well. So in my previous videos, I talked to you about the initial settings and how you bring the Lockdown Browser over here on the left hand corner where the blue font is, and then what is the three basic settings, the settings, and then the class result and exam statistics. I explained what are those to you in general. This video we're gonna be more specific and we're gonna go into the settings of Lockdown Browser before publishing and announcing an exam or a test or a quiz. Let's deep dive. So when you do the settings, okay, when you first time you prepare your questions, your exam is ready on Canvas, okay. So and you go down here on the left hand side. When you click the Lockdown Browser, there's the video tutorials, as you can see in my previous videos. And then when you continue with the Lockdown Browser, this is the window that will be with you. So on the left hand side, top left, there was three settings, class results, and exam stats. There's three options, and today we're going to talk about settings. So the default settings are just like this. So there's basically you need to understand it two different aspects. So one aspect is Lockdown Browser, and the other one is monitoring webcam settings. What does that mean? For example, you are in a classroom with 20 students, 30 students, they all have laptops, and you want them to be locked in a browser, and you don't want them to go Google or any other external sources, and you want them to just see your quiz screen. That's how you do it. But in that classroom, you definitely and clearly you don't need the webcam recordings because the students are already there. So you are already proctoring them, and you don't need to record their cameras. However, let's say during this pandemic we are obeying the social distancing, and the kids are taking their classes at wherever they are, in the library, in the dorms, or in the houses. So you definitely want them to be locked down in their browser, in your exam browser, and also you want them to be recorded in the camera to review them later. Okay, so then this comes handy. So when you first get into the Lockdown Browser settings, this is the preset. Okay, so it dictates you to require Respondus Lockdown Browser for the exam, and also it tells you to require Respondus Monitor for the exam, which means basically the kids need to open up their cameras, and their camera is going to be recording their actions and movements and the environment. Okay, so if this is wrong and you don't want this exam to be proctored by Lockdown Browser, what you want to do is just come here, and it closes out to Respondus, and then basically you can just save it. When you save it, what happens is basically this was the exam that we're doing. It says not required, not required. But as you can see in my other quizzes and assignments, it still says required. So it just changes the settings for this specific one. So if you want to go back to if you want to go back and again do the settings, you just have one option. Normally you have three, right? Settings, exam statistics, and class results. So because you're just doing it now, it just shows you those settings. And when you click the settings, this time it says don't require, and you want to change it to require Respondus Lockdown Monitor for the exam, and it opens up both Lockdown Browser and the webcam settings. So let's continue. So you can definitely set a password for your exam if you want to be more to make it more confidential, not public. You don't want any other someone other than your classroom log into your exam and take your exam instead of a student. So what you want to do is put an excess code. That's not required for instructor. You don't have to. This is just optional if you want an additional security for your exam. All right. And I definitely recommend you guys do the advanced settings. So first of all, I want to say this is the default settings. So these two are checked and the others are not. So let's start from the bottom. So you can enable them to print a toolbar. If you click this, they will be able to print from the toolbar. So if you want them to print out a screen while they are locked on into lockdown browser, you definitely want to check this, okay? And also you can enable a calculator on the toolbar, which means the students or your learners will not going to need a physical calculator, okay? And there's two options. It's standard calculator, and also it provides a scientific calculator, okay? This one has more functions like financial engineering and more math functions and more statistics, and this is more standard where you can do a lot of still basic calculations, okay? This is a good way because sometimes students forget their calculators, or this is maybe their first semester, they didn't know they needed calculators and stuff. So this is, I always make scientific calculator available for them, and I announce it before the exam so they don't need to worry about the calculators, okay? But it comes in default unchecked. You can allow access to specific external domains, okay? Let's say you want them to be locked in the quiz, but let's say they're gonna use some financial engineering or engineering econ tables. So you can give them the specific website. Let's say we're giving them access to YouTube. Okay, so when you write this, if you need multiple websites to be allowed to students, then separate them by comma. Okay, so that's how you do it, and this is handy when you want to provide some tables, like pages of tables, or maybe you want to provide them a chapter of a book that you want them to read and analyze or something. So that's useful when you have those kind of resources needed by the students during the exam, but it comes as unchecked. And if you want to allow the student to take the tests from an iPad, that's what you want to do, and it comes as checked. I always tell my student not to take the exam via iPad, using an iPad. And the reason is it has a lot of problems and the camera is not good, so there's problems with and typing is slow, and the camera brings out some problems usually. So I always uncheck it. So I don't allow my learners to use iPad. And you can lock your students into browser until the exam is completed, or if you want, you may optionally provide a password and let them get out of the lockdown browser before the exam is completed. And one thing I want to say also here is when you click or just hover over the explain, it explains you very briefly what is this check and uncheck box does. For example, let's get a standard or scientific calculator can be enabled on the lockdown browser toolbar. So that's very handy to, if this is your first time using it, this comes really handy. In the next video, I'm gonna talk about monitoring the webcam settings and how to do the environment and how to do the exam initial sequences. Thank you so much for watching this. I am sure it's helpful. I want to know if you need any other explanations. Please comment below, like and subscribe so I can do better helpful videos for you, and see you in another video. Thanks. Bye bye now.